A recent interview came out where another Xbox developer is praising Xbox, this time for actually caring about games. Let's talk about what he said. But before we do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers this year. So if you'd help me get there, check if you're subscribed. If you're not, hit that button. Anyway, let's get into the story. So this story is all about the dev behind the game Replaced. Now, Replaced is described as a 2.5D sci-fi retro-futuristic action platformer where you can play as Reach, an artificial intelligence trapped in a human body against its own will. Replaced combines cinematic platforming, pixel art, and free-flow action combat set in an alternative 1980s. So the reason I'm giving you that context is because this game came out recently and was praised for its unique art style, and everybody saw this when it was first revealed on Xbox's stage, at least for the most part. My hair is getting more and more crazy as this video goes on, and it dries. Yeah, I got a haircut. Anyway, there was an interview on Twinfinite, and in that interview, they said, the biggest part of the partnership for us is that Microsoft actually cares about the indie market. Otherwise, well, there would be much fewer games on all platforms. They really give a chance to small studios to actually produce something and provide marketing awareness to people. I would say for indie studios, I can't even think of a con with partnering with Microsoft because they provide funding and market reach. So this comes shortly after a story about Sony, where Ian Garnier kind of kicked off this series of indie developers talking about their partnership with Sony and the challenges that they've had there. This is something that I really, really hope Sony corrects, because there are issues that Sony is charging $25,000 to be featured in a visible position on the PlayStation Store. How the support of the platform isn't great. Like indie developers are not having their games found. There are ways to sort of make this system better, but people were just starting these threads about how it's been difficult to work with Sony, basically. And Sony still has yet to address that. That's one of the things that I am hoping that Sony comes out and says, here's how we're going to support indie devs. Meanwhile, here's another indie dev praising Microsoft for their support. And we actually get a little bit of a peek into their impression about what it was like being on Game Pass and having this support from the get-go. And the reason that it's really exciting for me is because, like the developer said here, this doesn't just benefit them, this sort of benefits all gaming. They said otherwise, well, there would be much fewer games on all platforms. So by Microsoft infusing this money into smaller studios, they create developers, meaning that everybody's going to get more games. So this is just beneficial to the entire industry, and that's really, really exciting. But he went on to talk about Game Pass. He says, as for Game Pass, it allows more people to learn about the game and actually play the game, because there is frequently this situation for many players where they will see a game in the store and they want it, but at the same time, it is $30, $60, or even more. And so you maybe wish list it, and then you usually forget. And I think one really, really good example about this would be that summer games event where everybody was allowed to try out Sable. Well, Sable's the one that's popping to the top of my head, but I tried out like 10 of them. Skill Up did a really, really good video talking about all of those games. And now that you've got to experience them as sort of a demo, as sort of like this promotional window for Microsoft, when they actually come out, there's going to be more word of mouth about the games, and the people who played them are going to be like, hey, I played that demo. I want to pick that up. They used to do this more often, and I really, really enjoy this. These were time demos, and I haven't seen that in a while. But anyway, I liked it because it gets more exposure. It provides marketing for these games, and it allows them to be viewed by more people. So again, what they say is, also, from what I've heard, Game Pass also boosts sales, but we'll see about that. To summarize, it's a win-win situation for us. And I've already made a video about the benefits of Game Pass, of all the developers praising Game Pass. Anybody who has actually launched on the platform has found it to be beneficial to their product. We have yet to hear from a developer with a scathing review of the service who has actually launched on the service. I often reference the Descenders quote where they drastically increased the amount of revenue coming to their game Descenders after launching with Xbox Game Pass. So it's just weird that there's still any conversation about Game Pass not being a good value. It's a good value for the consumer. Developers love it. And it's really, really good for the industry because Microsoft is going ahead and they're saying, okay, look, we're going to give you the money that you need to launch your game. We want you to launch on Xbox Game Pass first. Yes, that can be on PC. Like Replaced is actually on Steam. It's going to be on Xbox Game Pass, et cetera, et cetera. So it's launching on multiple platforms at once, right? Tons of people are going to be able to discover that game. And maybe in the future it comes to another platform. Or maybe in the future, this game sees success. This developer gets a bunch of money from their game and they're allowed to keep continuing to create their product, right? Like people can, if they launched their game or if they weren't given that capital to cover their production costs initially, this game potentially couldn't have seen the light of day, right? But because of that infusion of cash, the belief in their project, they're able to see it to fruition. And this is the first game from this developer. Maybe in the future they partner with Microsoft. Maybe in the future they partner with Sony. But regardless, this sort of has a domino effect of other studios being greenlit, being able to create their first project and potentially create something bigger in the years to come. It's about fostering the industry and hopefully making it so that in the future, the industry has this influx of developers creating interesting new things, doing experiments, trying stuff, and seeing how it goes. I hope that's the case. I was really, really happy to see this story, especially after what we've heard about Sony. I don't think this is a correlation to Sony, but it was nice to hear this aspect of it as opposed to the negative aspect. Now, if you've heard more about that Sony story, I want to update that story saying Sony comments or here's some things Sony said. So I'm going to ask that you reply to the pinned comment in this episode if you have an update. I have not seen one, but I really want to update that story because I feel like my personal takeaway is still quite negative about hearing that these indie developers aren't able to get the features or aren't able to have their games discovered on that platform to the point where like literally 7 people are downloading the DLCs of their games, or something like, I think it was 7. It's an old story. Yeah. So yeah, 7. It was 7 from an anonymous developer. So let me know if there has been an update there. Please, Sony, just say something publicly about that because they say they support indies, but then all these indies come out and say, well, here's been our experience. No response. And that's definitely what I want to hear about there. Glad to hear Microsoft is doing good in this department. Great. I hope they continue to do so. And we will hopefully hear that sales are doing well for Replaced. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like these sort of vloggy late night things where I just talk about a story of the day, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you could hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'm going to be reminding you regularly every episode until we get there. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you want to become a member, memberships are turned on. Basically, what I do for the members, and they understand this, is I upload these videos the second that they are complete so they can watch them at their leisure, and then the full video goes out to everybody else at 7 a.m. Pacific time, ideally, if I don't oversleep or something. And then, yeah. All right, well, that's it. Oh, yeah, and I have some merch if you want to buy a coffee mug or a pillow or a T-shirt like I did today. Yeah, you can check that out, too. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm going to catch you for the next one. See you then. Bye, everybody.